Hi, I'm Al Reimche, and I'm the president of the Oregon Conference. And we've been talking about the Lord's Prayer. And the section that I have the privilege of sharing has to do with one very short little phrase. Give us this day our daily bread. And as I looked at that particular phrase, it's interesting to see how such a simple thing can say so much to us. Up to this point in the prayer, we've been focusing on God, on His honor, on His power, His authority. And the thing that's interesting is that right now we shift to God interested in us. Give us this day our daily bread. We've been praying that God is going to be front and center, and now we look at our own needs as well. And one of the things that struck me as I was looking at this was that, sometimes we can think that God, that I earn my own bread, that I'm the one that earns the income, I'm the one that maybe makes the bread or bakes the bread. And so maybe just saying thank you to God would be all I need to do. But I think what this is bringing across to us is realizing that I need to ask Him for strength. I need to ask Him for health. I need to ask Him for ability in the first place. And as I was looking at this, I realized that this is a prayer that can be prayed by anyone. A prayer for an individual who is not wealthy. Give us today our daily bread. But it can also be a prayer for someone who has wealth. Because even there, even as Christ said, I may have barns that are full of food and storehouse that's filled right up. But I don't know how long I'm going to live. And so in a sense, give us today our daily bread. It deals with that whole issue of self-sufficiency. We recognize that we are in constant daily need, an acknowledgement that Christ is the author and the finisher of our lives as well as of our faith. And so, in a sense, it doesn't say, give us this day or give us this week our shopping list, or give us this month our shopping list. It's not talking about that. It's talking about the immediate. Give me today what I need. But even there, it's interesting to recognize this is not just talking about something that I do. Give me what I need. But it's interesting to notice that Christ refers to or uses the term, give us our daily bread. It's something that involves all of us. It's not just something that I do by myself. And even as I pray that prayer, I have the privilege then of being able to bless someone else. Give us this day our daily bread. Even though God has promised our bread and our water shall be sure, which He has done, we can find that in Isaiah. And even though as followers we're given all things, and that's found in Romans 8, we still need to ask daily, both showing our dependence upon God and also allowing God to give a small measure rather than allowing us to forget about Him. Give us today our daily bread. Not a whole bunch that we lose our trust in Him, but giving us enough so that we are blessed today. I find too, it's interesting as I look at this passage, I'm not one that always tries to apply things on a spiritual level when it may be just a simple illustration. But I think in this case we can look at that and say there's a spiritual application to this as well. No one who tries, or no one can actually eat for someone else. I think you probably discovered that. You can't eat for your kids if they don't like that particular food. It doesn't matter. You can't eat for them. They are the ones who are going to have to eat it and ingest it. And the other thing that I discovered too as I thought about this is the fact that spiritual food is a source of energy. And if it's overdone, it can actually be a source of lethargy. And that's an interesting thought when you think of it from a spiritual point of view. Can we get too much food? Is it possible that we could be so focused on food that we forget about the other elements of living and of spiritual life? Just this past week, I had the opportunity of visiting my kids up in Toronto, Canada. And of course, one of the things we like to do is go out to eat. And we went out to this interesting Indian restaurant. And as we went around, it was a buffet, and we could look at the different items that were going to be there. And we would notice the dessert section. And there were some very interesting types of desserts that were there. But of course, there was always the first course. And so we went through and had a great meal of the first course. As we were getting ready for dessert, we all realized we had overdone the first course. There really wasn't any room for dessert. And as I was thinking about that, I realized, from a spiritual point of view, that same thing is true. If I am focusing on taking the bread of life, God's bread, I don't have a hunger for Satan's food. I'm not interested in that. I'm already full. And so instead of being tempted for that dessert, I've already filled up on first course. Interesting thoughts that are found in that section. Give us this day our daily bread.